Now, there's a chance you might have first heard the news about Tiger Woods on Facebook. Well, now, the company pledging to invest at least $1 billion in the news industry. This, of course, after a high-profile row over the issue with Australia. Facebook briefly blocked news content on its platforms in the country in response to a draft law that's since been amended. It says it's negotiating with publishers around the world to help support journalism. The row, though, has raised major issues about the changing nature of journalism and, crucially, who pays for it? For more on that, let's bring in Edward Felsenthal. He's the CEO and editor-in-chief of Time. Edward, fantastic to have you on the show. So much to talk about, not only Time itself, but I do want to just get your views on what we've seen in the last few days with Facebook in Australia. Are you, as a publisher and a creator of news content, in favour of these social media platforms paying for the news that appears on their sites and, of course, that draws eyeballs and advertisers' money too?
Well, Julie, these are not just tech companies. They're really also media companies.
Right.
They publish massive amounts of news, opinion, information, just as you do, we do. Only unlike CNN and Time, they do it through algorithms and AI. And the result has really been twofold. One is they've built massive businesses, in part off the hard work of the humans who do what we do, with very little of the cost. And second, because they don't fact check or have effective filters, they've contributed to a huge misinformation problem. So this news out of Australia is really significant, really important. We'll see where it goes. But these are the biggest deals ever seen by big tech to pay for journalism, and maybe the start of addressing some of the problems we've seen.
So I'll take that as a hypothetical yes. They should be doing more to perhaps pride for the content.
Hypothetical, yes. There's lots of, yeah.
Now, of course, there will be people saying, and Time is, I think, as a brand, chosen to see what we've seen in terms of the mass disruption as an opportunity as well as a challenge. There will be those that are saying, hang on a second, your model is facilitated by being backed by a whopping great billionaire in the form of Mark Benioff, of course. Some others might say that comes with its challenges too. What's your response to those that say, perhaps this is the only way for media to survive going forward?
Well, we have wonderful owners in Mark and Lynn Benioff. We do our journalism with complete editorial independence. They're incredibly supportive of the work we're doing, the impact we're having, the evolution of the business. They have a long-term view. They're long-term owners, which for those of us who've been in a quarter-to-quarter public company environment, this is a really challenging time. These are challenging times in the media business, and that long-term perspective is essential. You're seeing lots of different models now. Certainly you hear the concerns about billionaire owners, but there's concerns about all forms of ownership. I've been in the public company environment, and there are pressures there, and we're just lucky. We've got believers in the brand, believers in the business, supportive of what we do, and there's just going to be a lot of evolution. Many forms of ownership. I'm on the board of a local nonprofit. That's one form. And so it's a challenging but really exciting time in our field.
So let's talk about that then, because to your point, trust in content, trust in media has never, I think, been more pivotal at time of great division in society. And you as a brand, again, I think have navigated that incredibly well. How does this tie into Time 2030, where I know you're going to produce a decade of content on helping people navigate what the post-COVID world is going to look like? And this is not about politics. This is about inclusivity, about building a better world. Talk me through Time 2030, Edward.
We're really excited about this mission, and in many ways our entire approach has changed, and the pandemic has changed everything. It's illuminated, along with the riot at the Capitol and so many of the headlines we've seen over the last year, just how deep and vast the crises we face as a society are, how many they are, multiple crises all at once. It's really an unprecedented time in the world. As we're seeing all these problems, so many problems in our society that are right there in front of us, but not really dealt with. A health crisis, a trust crisis, an inequality crisis, a climate crisis, an economic crisis, a crisis of racial injustice, democracy. I mean, this is certainly the most challenging time in the world in my lifetime, and so we've changed how we think about our coverage to address these crises head on and really focus in a sustained way. We've committed to 10 years of reporting on these massive challenges. We're also excited to launch. You mentioned politics. Of course, we've long done political coverage. We're going to launch Time Business in April with a great new editor from the Wall Street Journal, and just looking at these intersections of the spheres of our coverage and the crises we face and solutions to help the world move forward.
Yeah, I'm already nervous about that Time Business, clearly. Edward, great to have you on the show. Thank you so much, and great to get your
Thanks,
insights
Julia.
and wisdom today. Thank you.
Great to be here.
Likewise, the CEO and Editor-in-Chief of Time there.